Tell me your names.
My name is Walter Clement. Everybody calls me Houey, that's my nickname.
Okay.
And I'm Jean Clement.
Well, we're glad to have you today. We want to talk a little bit about the Lutheran Church. Tell me your family background. Houey, tell me your family background with the church, and then I'll ask Jean.
My parents moved here when I was 2 years old from Dallas, Texas. And of course my mother was raised up in the Lutheran Church, and so we started going to where she did. And my father never attended church, but he made it sure that my mother got us to church every Sunday morning. And at that time we had a piano right in front of the front pews. And I can remember going to church or Sunday school also, and my mother would let us 3 kids sleep in the front pew so she could keep an eye on us.
She played the piano.
Yeah, she played the piano.
Yeah. Your mama's name was?
Ruth Clement.
And she was from?
She was raised up in Duluth, Minnesota.
As a Lutheran. She went to the
Yes,
Lutheran Church?
Yes.
And so she continued that when you moved to here.
Right.
And she played the piano. Did she sing?
Well, no, not really.
No. She did a lot of other things.
She played the piano, and then she continued to play the organ. We got an organ when we were still in the old church. And she quit playing the organ when we moved to this new church because she couldn't climb up those spiral steps.
Was Pastor Helberg, when did he come here?
He came in about 1946.
Okay, so you've been in the church a long time.
Yeah.
Had several preachers before he came.
The preacher that I didn't know him because I was too young to really know him. But when I started at the First Lutheran in 1937, our pastor was Reverend Gertner.
Okay.
And I know that his wife and Catherine Aaron were very good friends. And then after that, we had a preacher named Camp Peffner. And but the one I grew up with was really Pastor Helberg.
And Jean, when did you join the Lutheran Church? I think I know when, but
Well, I joined the Lutheran Church actually before Houey and I had become engaged. Before we were married, I started to take instruction. And I was confirmed in probably May or June. And I actually was
what year? You remember?
1956.
Did you do instructions over the year, or did you do it in the summer?
Well, no, we probably had a small adult class. Much of the time, it was just one-on-one, just with Pastor Helberg.
What church were you raised in?
Was raised in a Catholic church.
And so when you were confirmed, it was in the old church downtown.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us some story that you might know. Now, Houey, I know you know a story.
We had this couple that they would sit pretty close to the front, second or third pew, and every Sunday they had a little child that would just disrupt everything. And I was the head usher at that time in the church, and Pastor Helberg told me, he says, it's the head usher's responsibility when something like that occurs, you come down and escort them to the cry room. And he says, if it happens again next Sunday, I'm going to nod my head at you, and when I nod my head, you're to go down and escort them to the cry room.
Oh.
So I did. That's the last Sunday those people ever showed up in church, too.
Oh, that would have been awful to have to do. I would have hated it.
Oh, I know it.
Oh, boy.
He still complains about it.
Yeah. Tell me about your kids. You need to tell us.
Well, we've got 3 kids. Richard is the first. He's the first child. And then Alan is still here in Texarkana. And then Lisa, our daughter, baby daughter, she is still here in Texarkana. She's a retired school teacher.
Got any stories, Jean, about them in church? How did
Oh,
they
there's always stories about them in
Yeah.
church.
Alan used to help you when you used to barbecue or
Oh,
cook outside. He helped all the time.
he was always here. And Richard lived somewhere else always. But the main thing was that they were just always there. Whatever their dad was doing, they were in the middle of it. And I did say that we sat on the back row because I wanted to. Lisa was a baby, and I wanted to be sure I could get to the cry room if she started crying. And of course, Alan was just old enough to be squirmy, and I pull his hair, and he says right now, if you were to see him, he has very little hair on his head, and he said, well, that was because Mama pulled it all out.
Well, how has the church changed over the years?
It's a transient group. We have large attendance, and then they all gradually move away, and then you get it, and then we build again. So it's the few comers and stayers are really the ones that, just the backbone of the church, but
And there's not a whole lot.
not a whole lot.
Yeah.
Many of us have gotten a little bit old.
What do you think, Houey?
Well, we've had a lot of areas in our church that have improved, but some of our ways, in my opinion, are not working anymore. And we need to look at different ideas, because some of the things that worked in the past are not necessarily working right now.
Well, what do you think about what you see in the future for this church? How we could change to make things better, or what do you see for the future?
It's just to get more people involved. If we could get them involved, that's always been the problem. Is that the involvement is you have the group that actually does the work, and it's the same little group. And sometimes it's simply because we don't ask anyone else to do it. And so sometimes we just need to look at that and let the youth, the younger, when I say youth, anyone over 20 probably should take a role in part of the activities that go on in the church.
I think we've got some challenges ahead of us. Pastor Hellberg was one of the first that accused me of wanting to run the church like a business. And I still think that the church is a business to a standpoint. You've got to use some business practices. You've got a budget that you've got to meet. I know what it is to have to meet a payroll. The church has got to meet a payroll. So you do whatever it takes to get the people in the church, because without the people, you don't have it. You don't have a church.
You don't have anything. You don't have the people.
No. And it's just like, I'm still part owner of a business downtown, and in a business, nothing happens until you sell something. Now, once you sell something, every time I buy something, I ask myself, well, if this breaks, where am I going to get it fixed? So you've got to have people in the church. When people are having problems, you need somebody there to help them fix their problems. And so we'll have challenges. We're challenged right now from a budget standpoint.
Because we don't have enough people, too.
That's right.
Thank y'all for coming.
Well, okay.
Appreciate you coming for this.